Let's get to it with our buddy Kevin Burke from HoopDoctors.com. Hey, man.
Terry, what's going on, man?
Just another boring week in hoops. Nothing much going on. Kind of dead.
Yeah, kind of a dead basketball season all around.
Yeah, it's been awful. Hey, let's start with the NBA. And I have a chance to ask you this or not. Is Derrick Rose your MVP?
Unanimous, definitely. Any argument for anyone else is laughable in my book. Unanimous. I mean, 8th seed last year and the year before. Now they're the number 1 seed. And, I mean, the only addition outside of Rose's elevated game are Tom Thibodeau, which I don't want to overlook, and Carlos Boozer, who missed 26 games. So the common denominator in my book is definitely Derrick Rose. Points are up, rebounds are up, assists are up. Unanimous, hands down MVP in my book. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he's my MVP too. And people will say, "Hey, he shoots the ball better." Yeah, now he's just a bad 3-point shooter. Before he was atrocious, but at least he can make a few now. But I agree with you, Kevin. Just his game in general, and how he's put this team in his back. He's like, "Guys, follow me, let's roll." He's the difference, and this team's gonna have the best record in the East, the number 1 seed going in. And the other, and I was reading, someone was trying to give me a compelling argument for LeBron James. I said, well, I got 2 things against that: Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Now get away from me. And the other one and maybe I have a prejudice against Dwight Howard because I think he should be better than he is because he can't shoot free throws and he takes 15 seconds every time, and he has not developed, a true, low post game. He's just, God love him. I would like to be able to jump that high and have arms and shoulders that big to where I didn't really have to develop a low post game. But maybe it's me, Kevin. I'm just prejudiced against him because I think he should be better. And someone's trying to give me the Dwight Howard thing. I go, no, don't come to me with Dwight Howard either, because I can't vote an MVP, Kevin, to a guy who I can't give the ball to with a minute left because he's going to get fouled and brick 2 free throws.
I hear you, and that's a good argument. I like Dwight Howard. I'm on his side. Yeah, I think at best he's gonna, at his best, he'll be a marginal offensive player. But at the same time, in the same breath, he's indefensible. No one can guard him in the league. So it's kind of, what if he did have an offensive game? How good would he be? I think if it's even, and I hear what you're saying about Dwight. I certainly do. I've come around to him the last couple of years. I do. If this even makes sense, I kind of feel as if he's underappreciated for that very point, because I think he's the one guy in the league, him and LeBron James, that no one can guard. There's really no game plan for this guy. I mean, who are you going to throw on Dwight Howard to stop him from? It's because he jumps higher and he's crazy athletic and he has arms and shoulders and all the life. But there's no one that you can put in front of him to defend him. And I think if you have to start an NBA franchise today with guys on NBA rosters today with the current skill set, I think the first player you have to choose is Dwight Howard, 1, maybe LeBron James, 2, because of that reason. There's nobody that can guard him. But if he did have an offensive game, how good would he be? But, you can't give him the ball in the closing seconds. It's tough to get my MVP vote. You're absolutely right. In Chicago, who's getting the ball in the closing seconds? It's not Kyle Korver, I guarantee.
Yeah, you got that right, brother. It sure ain't. There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
But with Dwight Howard, I think Kwame Brown shut him down. Anyway, so we're talking with Kevin Burke, HoopDoctors.com, about the NBA at Sports 630 KIDO, KIDOAM.com. Terry Fortune. I guess Thibodeau has to be your coach of the year for what he did in Chicago, because it's always funny that Phil Jackson hasn't won this award, one time?
One time, yeah.
And God love Tom Thibodeau. He came in there a little bit better than Vinny Del Negro, and he doesn't get in a fight with his boss. And
yeah, right.
And Thibodeau has come in. They put a defensive mentality there. They can still put the ball in the hoop, but their calling card also is rugged defense. It's changed everything. They're number 1 seed. I guess you would have to give Coach of the Year to Tom Thibodeau. We can make an argument in different pockets of the NBA, but it's got to be him, right?
Yeah, when I handed out my midseason awards around the All-Star break, it was Greg Popovich. They had, one of the oldest teams in the league. Only lost, I want to say, 4 or 5 games at that point during the All-Star break. And Phil Jackson only, 11 rings, 1 Coach of the Year, and it was the year the Bulls won 72 games. Yep. Kind of had to give it to him for that. How do you go 72-10 and not win Coach of the Year? That would have been, kind of a travesty.
You think?
And seriously. In sports in general, not just the NBA, any sport, the Coach of the Year typically goes to the coach who happens to coach the most improved team. It's just kind of like by default. So whether it's, his doing or not, in this case, I do think it is, because they've been top 3 in defense all year, coming from Boston with the defensive mentality, like you just said. He has to, you definitely want to attribute to that, but typically it is, the most improved team. Who's the coach? Oh, yeah, he wins the Coach of the Year. But in this standpoint, in this year, you got to go with him. I also think that Derrick Rose might even be, he's not going to win it, I think he might be a candidate for most improved player of the year. Am I off base? I mean, that's definitely Kevin Love's. I think runner-up is Russell Westbrook. I think Derrick Rose is in the top 5 for, most improved, coupled with the fact that he's going to win the MVP.
Well, I mean, let's, like I said before, the guy couldn't shoot the ball outside of 15 feet last year, or his first couple years in the league. He had no jump shot. He's shooting about, 32% from 3, which, again, is below average, but it's a heck of a lot better than what he was throwing up before. So, I'll go, you know what? In a screwy way, I will agree with you that he is a much improved player. He's rounded out his game from what it was last year. Because I'll be honest with you, Kevin, if you put the Derrick Rose of his first couple years on the court this year, the Bulls aren't the number 1 seed.
Oh, no, not at all. No, this is why he's the MVP. I mean, last year he averaged 20 and change. This year is 25. So, 5 points is not a huge jump, but he's more efficient. You know, he's shooting more, but he's also making more. He's making guys around him better. Luol Deng was a fringe all-star for the first time in his career. If Noah was healthy during the All-Star break, he would have been an All-Star. On what other team would Joakim Noah be, an All-Star? Seriously, Derrick Rose, he just impacted the team. He's rejuvenated that city, that organization. It's amazing. If you would have asked me, not even the beginning of the season, but a month ago, that the Bulls would end up number 1 in the East, kind of running away at this point, I would have laughed at you. This is ridiculous. This is remarkable. And it's, look no further than Rose. He's got to be the MVP as far as I'm concerned. But there is an interesting stat that I kind of heard a few weeks ago. The last team to win an NBA championship where the number 1 offensive weapon was the point guard, a scoring point guard, was the bad boy Pistons 2 decades ago. So, is there something there? Chicago, Isaiah and Derrick Rose are both from Chicago. It's kind of a Chicago thing. Like Haley's comment, every 20 years it happens. Not saying that it can't happen, but if history is any indicator, that's not a recipe for success.
Right. Kevin Burke, HoopDoctors.com, Sports 630 KIDO, KIDO AM.com, Terry Ford Show. I'm going to take that thing you brought up, and I'm going to steal it for myself. Thank you, buddy. Anyway, the other part is, though, with the Lakers, I love it. They've lost 5 in a row. Oh, no, they're old. Oh, people shut up. I'm like, I take the quote of Phil Jackson. Is it the playoffs yet? Are we in the playoffs yet? Look, they are what they are. They have proved they go against everything we've ever heard in team sports. You can't turn it on at the end. You can't turn it on in the playoffs. You can't turn it on the postseason. The Lakers just go, oh, yeah, okay, we won 16 out of 17. That shows you we can win a bunch of games if we want to. Okay, let's go to sleep. Yeah. Wake us up when the playoffs is here. Until someone puts the knife in their heart, I go with the Lakers.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, they lost 7 of their last 11 games of the season before going to the playoffs. But, they still ended up the NBA champions last year. So, they're accustomed to this. I think they really get bored during the regular season. They're an older team. They just really get bored. But in that breath, I cannot explain, winning 16 of 17 and then dropping the next 5. I really can't explain that because I don't think it was a lapse in effort. Kobe doesn't seem like he ever takes a play off of. He still berates his teammates, yells at them, barks at them when they do something wrong. So it's not as if he doesn't care any less. If I'm a Lakers fan and I'm out there in La La Land, it's annoying, definitely, because, it's an emotional roller coaster that this team is putting the fans through. But in the same breath, I picked that at the beginning of the year only because Phil Jackson wins clusters and championships and clusters of 3, and this is the 3rd year.
Right.
But, again, they are I wouldn't doubt them. The loss last week, Sunday night against the Thunder, was kind of convincing. But in the same breath, they're the defending champs for a reason. Got the best player, in the league on their team. It is disconcerting, again, if you're a Lakers fan, but don't count them out. They are the defending champs for a reason.
Kevin Burke, HoopDoctors.com, Sports 630 KIDO, KIDO.com, Terry Ford Show. Okay, we get the kid from Baylor decides, the kid Jones from Baylor, who's going to be a top 5 pick, and I'm going to stay at Baylor. You got the Zeller and Henson, 2/3 of the front line, North Carolina, and we're going to stay in school at Carolina. Jared Sullinger, I'm staying at Ohio State. Why? My mama told me to. And then you've got Harrison Barnes, who people say is on the fence right now and really doesn't know what he's going to do yet. Is it all just there is going to be a lockout in the NBA? Is it as simple as that?
I really, I'm not in the labor talk, I'm not in the rooms with, the unions and the players, but I find it hard to believe that there will be a lockout that will impact games. This is the most successful, the league hasn't been this successful and this attractive since Michael Jordan retired, more than 10 years ago.
Yep.
Couple that with the fact that they only played 50 games in the labor short in 1999/2000 season, which effectively ended a lot of guys' careers because so many guys came back out of shape. Sean Kemp, for one. But I just really, they haven't enjoyed it. I mean, on the heels of the Ron Artest and just everything that's happened over the past decade, I find it hard that they would allow kind of a selective term here, but if they would allow a lockout to come in and impede this, maybe because I'm a fan of the league, I would like to think that that's not going to happen based on, again, the success of the league, the popularity that they're enjoying now, plus they already had a lockout a few years ago. But our guys, I just think maybe guys, I think it's a little bit of that. Maybe a lot of agents and maybe some friends and people in the league are telling them that there is going to be a lockout, or maybe more connected than I am. But at the same breath, I think guys are finally waking up and realizing that, hey, we're not ready. Hopefully, but Henson, I'm glad he's staying. I mean, he's 7 feet 13 inches, and he weighs maybe 192. I'm glad he's staying. Josh Selby, another one on the fence.
I want to look at Josh Selby and say, seriously? Seriously, dude? Did you watch you play? Did you see you play at Kansas this year?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, the Morris twins and then Taylor at the point guard. You kind of forgot about Josh Selby. They would have done what they did this year without him.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of insignificant last year for their.
You know what's funny, Kevin? And we were discussing this earlier today because I was kind of equating it to football with the draft and also the NBA. Anymore, like this kid Perry Jones at Baylor, here's what basically people are telling you in league circles. Kid, you got a lot of upside, high ceiling, all this potential. Go to the NBA now and get paid before they find out you ain't got no game. Because you go back to Baylor for a sophomore year and you're not any better than you were your freshman year, you're going to cost yourself some money because then, guess what? They get to see more of you and they figure out you got no game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always. It's easy to say go back to school. You're going to assume a guy's going to get better because he goes back to school. That's a very dumb assumption. Like you said, a lot of guys go back and get worse. The poster child, I think, for staying in school too long was Felipe Lopez out of St. John's High School in New York. If he would have, at the time, going to the NBA out of high school wasn't the cool thing to do at that time.
Right.
So he went to St. John's, and after his freshman year, he had a subpar freshman year. He comes back. He stayed 4 years. And here I am, talking about a guy who actually stayed 4 years in college. This is where we are as a society. But, he was just a poster child for staying too long. He eventually got drafted, had a cup of tea with Minnesota, and boom, just like that, he was gone. So sometimes you got to know when the iron's hot. You strike when the iron's hot and kind of get out. But, just assume that you're going to get better when you go back. I don't necessarily agree with that. Which is like Kyrie Irving. Everyone's saying he should come back, but he has Doc Rivers' son coming there who kind of plays the same position. So there'd be some. You got Steph Curry as well, Steph Curry's brother. It's kind of a logjam back there in the backcourt. So there's a lot of reasons why a guy would like to leave as opposed to just I'm tired of school. So. And
the other part of it is 99% of these cats should stay. We all can agree that very rarely is there a guy that you say, okay, you played a year, you're ready to go to the next level. Most of these dudes should stay and work on their game and do all that other stuff and get their reps and their run. But it's not even about that. It's about if you want to make money, sometimes you better go before they find out you're a fraud.
Yeah, absolutely. And people always forget, I think we mentioned this a few weeks ago, you can go back and finish school.
You're allowed.
You're not giving up your opportunity to go to class.
Right.
You're not. It's not like BYU telling Jimmer Fredette not to come to class. You can go back to class after you leave school.
Right.
So, seriously.
They don't taser you if you walk back on the campus. Hey, buddy, get out of here.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
In reality, guys don't go back. So, I hear both sides of the argument.
Now, last thing for you, I understand that you were at the Celtic game last night when the Celtics played Larry Bird and Bill Russell, and they got 3 fat guys out of the stands. They didn't play Ray Allen or Kevin Garnett or Paul Pierce, and but you saw the great Von Wafer debacle, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Now, were you on board with to sit these guys down? Should they have played? Should they have not played? Where are you at on it?
They absolutely should have played. Going into that game, the number 2 seed was still up for grabs. Ray Allen and Paul Pierce were out there for the layup line. So I'm thinking maybe Garnett is back there getting taped up. Ron was back there getting taped up. The game starts and you got Big Baby coming out. You got Von Wafer coming out. Delonte. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Right.
They don't play a lick. I don't see Paul Pierce or Ray Allen on the bench. in the second half of the game. I can't believe that number 2 was up for grabs. I'm not sure if they would rather play, if they wanted to play the Knicks as opposed to the Sixers. I have no idea what that was about. Even if, I mean, the only way I would see that made sense is if they had it, if they couldn't move in the standings, which again, they're an older team, rest them. But they could have gotten number 2. I don't know where that came from. I was, sitting there covering the game with some other writers and some other bloggers, and we were kind of saying the same thing. That made no sense to me. I haven't heard a legitimate explanation from Doc Rivers as to why he done that. Again, so now you got the Celtics and the Knicks in the first round. I'm completely against it. I'm still flabbergasted. I have no idea why he did it.
There's a couple things. I see last year taking your foot off the gas. You are where you're at. Your players, you've been banged up. They're not the youngest cats in the world.
Right.
But this year is different to me about the Celtics for this reason, Kevin. They're trying to get used to 2 or 3 new players from Oklahoma City. They're obviously missing Kendrick Perkins and what he brought to the table. And they're strong. All these things together, I think you want to be on the court with all your guys as much as you can, because obviously all these pieces, they aren't meshing yet. And all the court time you can get is court time to get used to each other. And I look at it like, hey, 2nd or 3rd seed, whatever, you guys, it's not happening right now with these pieces. You got to get as much run as you can with these guys in a game situation.
Boston has 9 wins, 11 losses in their last 20 games. And during that 20-game stretch, they're averaging an NBA low 90.2 points per game. It's a league low.
Mm-hmm.
So they're soaking and they're hanging their heads because they missed their buddy Kendrick Perkins. Oh, they blindsided us. Couple that with the fact that now all of a sudden they can't score. I mean, this is a very vulnerable team heading into the playoffs. I think the Knicks, they kind of look up, finding, it's all about timing and matchups, right? I think the Knicks are catching the Celtics at a great time. They're very vulnerable. I think the Kendrick Perkins thing, aside from just what he brings on the court, the camaraderie, the chemistry, that's all gone. I think the players feel as if, management stabbed them in the back. They blindside them with a trade, one of the most likable guys on the team. The Celtics have a lot to figure out in a short period of time. Sitting them yesterday certainly did not help, in my opinion.
Kevin Burke, HoopDoctors.com. We appreciate it like always, brother. We'll catch you next week, man.
My pleasure. Talk to you then.
All right, see you, buddy. Sports 630 KIDO, KIDO AM.